Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the opening race of the Sim Racing Hub International GT4 Season 3. We've been away for a little while, enjoying the summer, or whatever summer we're able to have in Western Europe, and this evening the engine revs rise and the battle commences in this exhilarating championship. I'm Tim Fulbright, your lead commentator, back again to guide you through the action on screen, and I'm delighted to be joined by my good friend Steve Proudie. Good evening, Steve. How are you doing? And welcome back to what promises to be another exciting season of GT4 action here at SRHI.
Yeah, good evening, Tim, and really looking forward to this one as well, because not only is it SRHI GT4 season starting back, season 3, but obviously round 1 at Oulton Park as well. What a fantastic track this is. It's going to be very challenging for these drivers this evening as they try to navigate their way round Oulton Park with its tight, twisty and very, very narrow sections of track. The overtaking is going to be very, very difficult. The moves are going to have to be planned, and I think anyone who tries to literally send one up the inside here is going to have to be very, very brave and probably close their eyes on the way through, because it is going to be awesome tonight. We're looking like around about 40 cars on the grid as well, so it's going to be very difficult to find some space, I think, Tim.
Well, a jam-packed grid then for the opening round of the season. Hello to everyone watching the live streams across YouTube and Twitch. Do let us know who you're cheering on this evening and indeed across the season. Your thoughts on the racing action you're seeing on screen. And of course, if you do enjoy what you see tonight, please hit the like button and subscribe to SRHI TV to keep up to date with all the sim racing action here at this community. And now the first round of any season is exciting. New liveries, new tracks, new competition. But for our reigning champion, Sem Spenkelink, he'll be hoping to continue the form that saw him claim 4 victories last season and really set himself out as the benchmark, the man to beat. So 8 rounds starting tonight at Oulton Park. We then head to Bathurst for our first of 2 double headers this season, 2 30-minute races as opposed to the usual 1-hour format. Then we go to the Hungaroring and Snetterton for the halfway point of the season on the 2nd of November. Then it's Brands Hatch for 2 30-minute races again, our second doubleheader. Then Laguna Seca, Zolder, and the season finale at Monza on the 11th of January. And as I alluded to there, race format is much the same as last season. Besides these 2 double-header events at Bathurst and Brands Hatch, we have 20 minutes to set the fastest time in qualifying. The drivers are out on grid, on the track at the moment here at Oulton Park. We're about at 7 minutes into the first qualifying session, and then 60 minutes worth of racing, whatever the format, be it 2 30 minutes or 1 60-minute event. From last season, drivers do not need to go to pit lane once during the race. They can stay out for the entire 60 minutes and hope that their tyres and the car indeed last that length. But weather also can play a round at Brands Hatch. Then we have the difficult wet-dry event at Spa, so another challenge for the drivers to take in. One of these drivers is the man on screen at the moment, Aaron Martin. Now, Steve, he's a driver that you and I know very well. He's very committed, very intense, a very quick driver, but he's up against a very strong grid and a very big grid with that.
To find his own space, as we said in the intro there, it's going to be very, very difficult this evening to get that space, and it's not necessarily the fastest man on track or on paper that is going to get that pole position. It's all about getting yourself that clean air, that free space to be able to attack those corners and take those absolute perfect lines around here, and really seasons one of the top drivers that we sort of followed through the GT3s and GT4s. Sem Spenkelink, look what he's driving now. That man has just raised the bar on challenges, because we all know that the Maserati is not the easiest car in the GT4 class to handle, Tim. It's not the easiest car to extract, the easiest car to hang on to and keep in the right direction, as we see Sem just running a little bit wide there.
They're running a bit deep through the chicane at his lops and then through Nick Rickies by picking the Maserati. It's certainly a handful to drive. None of the driver aids that you get, the traction control and ABS, anti-lock braking system that you get in the other more modern GT4 cars. This Maserati Gran Turismo is certainly a challenge, but Sem, I'm sure, will be throwing himself at it and hoping to keep the pace and keep him towards the sharp end of the grid. Here's Danny de Sport in the number 57 CBSR Racing Mercedes. Plenty of Mercedes actually on the grid season. We've got I believe, a total of 10 Mercs on the grid, only matched by Aston Martin for their plurality across the order, both in the Pro, and this is certainly a popular car. And Danny DeSwart, a very quick driver. I don't get the feeling we saw the best from him last season. I think at the opening couple of years, a P2 in qualifying Suzuka, then going on to win that race, and he did manage to compete in every race that season. Certainly a strong driver, certainly someone to take note of in this opening round, and we're coming towards halfway through this opening qualifying session here. Wheels on the grass, and he nearly spins to the inside, manages to hold it, gather it up, but plenty of time lost. And if he was looking for those 2/10, Aaron Martin lost it with that minor error there, coming into the double right-hander at Druids before heading on to the back straight under the Warwick Bridge right-hand side, and letting the bright pink Aston Martin of Andreas Garlin going through there. Plenty of cars out on track at the moment, Steve. Position isn't there. Like you say, it's not be necessarily about setting, the fastest time. It might just be getting that time in.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's been setting the timing sheets on fire in practice, because as we can see, it's very, very congested. People are starting to trip over each other. It's not the easiest track to find space on. There's lots of blind entries. It's not that easy to pass, even when you're trying to be nice and let someone pass. It's not always that easy. And we even have a mobile test screen going around on the circuit this evening. How's about that for a livery? In his all-new livery, he just couldn't decide what colour to have, so he just chucked them all at the car and drove away. There you go.
It's certainly on the side of this Mode 11 Racing Porsche Cayman, every single colour donning this car as he heads down towards the Hislop chicane. Hello to everyone in the chat, Christopher Hansen as well. Gabriel Hejas, hello. Dave Jr., Dynamic Kinetic Racing dropping in the chat as well. And Cameron 5 saying, evening gents, always nice to hear your voice as well. That makes one person out there. So Andreas Garlin then, whilst we jumped up to second on the grid.
He's another 2/10 up, Tim. He's another 2/10 clear. Well, 1/10. Now he's just lost a little bit in the braking zone there as he enters the final corner. Could be a pole position lap. And indeed it is. But having said that, Aaron Martin Pilkington is also currently around about a 10th up, so he's pushing, and that qualifying time at the moment is only safe by a 100th of a second as we're coming down into the last 7.5 minutes of qualifying here. And I think pretty much nearly all the field are actually out on track now as well, so it's going to be very, as we can see on the screen really. And if you look at that track map to the right of the screen there, Tim, have you ever seen a busier track map?
Certainly packed, but Aaron Martin Pilkington streaking clear. Pole time, a 1 minute 41.829 from the driver of the number 626 BMW. Leapfrogs Andreas Garlin to the tune of nearly 2/10 of a second, 0.177 separate down the order on the left-hand side. We'll go all the way back to P13. And Delore in the 49 Aston to find the first car outside of a second as Tom Young set to be improving across third place. So Steve, drivers are finding time in this final 7 minutes.
Yeah, Tom Young there found half a second. I was going to try and alert you to that, but you jumped onto it very well. He was half a second up, so he's found half a second. Like you say, that half second from 10th place to third place, 2/10 off that pole position time of Pilkington. We know Pilkington's a quick driver, and if he can steal pole position this evening, Tim, it's going to be his race to lose. Without trying to talk him up too much at the beginning, we know how consistent he can be. If he can get pole position and get around that first corner unhindered, he's a consistent lad. He's capable of taking the fight to SRHI to the rest of the drivers and potentially winning this race this evening.
Causing an upset on his first appearance where Martin Pilkington Bart's Verenk on screen then, MDM Motorsport number 25 BMW. He's got plenty of clean air in front of him actually. Looking on the track map, there's the stranded still in the gravel at Island Bend. There you can see off to the left hand side, still waiting to find a clear bit of track to rejoin. Bart heads round the corner and towards the chicane. That clear track in front of him certainly going to help him. Looks to be improving at the moment. He needs to find 0.6 of a second to take pole position, but really, if he finds 2/100ths of a second, he could see himself leap up a couple of positions and challenge into the top 5. Heading down the gearbox into the right, left, and then convince the car to go right again through Knickerbrook. Careful of using all the curb on the exit there. There's not much room. Two wheels will often hit the grass, and you don't want to do that in some of these high speed sections. Into the double right hander at Druids, and they're running all the way over the curb and close, I think, to invalidating the lap on the exit of the penultimate corner. Then heading down towards Lodge through the right hander that then drops away from you before steeply climbing up through Dear Lee, getting the tail out as well. Bart Sverring up over the crest into the line. Does he improve? No, he doesn't. He stays P8, but still plenty of space in front of him to hopefully put another lap together. And here's a new driver on the grid, Peter Vernier, the number 34 Sim Racing Holland Porsche, flying through his lots, and he's improving as well, Steve.
Yeah, he was until he got to Hislops. He was a couple of tenths up throughout the first sector and a half of that lap, and then through Hislops he seemed to lose it there through the right, left, and right as he climbed up the hill. But he's now he's gained another tenth or two back. He's through the final corner there, just coming into the last corner now, and he's going to go through Deers leaping up, and he's 2 tenths up, so he's going to improve. I'm not quite sure how much this is going to push him up the board. Couple of tenths, he might get into 5th place.
P5 then for Vernier in the 34 then, maybe picking up a slight slipstream from that McLaren in front. Plenty of cars off to the left hand side there, heading back to pit lane. They're aborting their lap. Crucially, starting to run out of time now. 3.5 minutes to go. It's getting tight for getting out on track and getting a couple of laps in. Here's Dmitry Schenk on screen, driver of the number 8 Stubbornow Racing Mercedes.
Spenkelink's gone second, Tim.
As we see then, our reigning champion jumping up to 2nd place in the Maserati. He splits Aaron Martin Pilkington and Andreas Garlin 1.129 of a second off pole. So there's 2 drivers now in the 1 minute 41 second margin. And then it's Garlin, Young, Vernier, De Swart, who's in pit lane at the moment, followed by Verkman, Sverring, Colin Hines, who's a new joiner as well, and then Patrick Vance rounding out the top 10. 2 minutes and 3/4 to go then in this opening qualifying session. Denise Pope on screen, driver of the 79 Wild Things Racing Ginetta. She found form in the second half of the previous season. She's now been promoted to the pro category as runner-up in the AM class. She's in a bit of traffic at the moment, following an Aston Martin, and then there's an Audi behind her. I think that's Frank Hopp there. She's currently 27th position overall in the timesheets. 1.56 seconds down, actually looking to the inside.
She's being held up.
Martin definitely being held up by the number 77, but manages to get past the Aston Martin, rather bailing out on that position on track. So now some clean air for Denise Pope. Can she find time in this, the final 2 minutes of qualifying? She's definitely warmed up to the Ginetta over the last season, definitely finding pace in the second half. Back-to-back P7s rounding out the championship. Like you say, runner-up in the AM category to teammate Edna Tapas. And now is she improving down towards Lodge Corner. Running in deep though on the brakes and off into the gravel. Denise Pope's going to bail, I believe, and in doing so, I think she's out of time to get back out on track and set another time. Peter Vernier is well in track. Thomas Walters in the number 121 McLaren. He's in pit lane, as well as Lewis Van Gent, Tractor Kroll and Vale Lermans as well in pit lane. They're all accepting their fates in this opening qualifying session. A spinner there. The number 78 Mercedes looped round at Druids. It's all happening here in this final 70 seconds as Aaron Martin Pilkington, he wants to go quicker. He's got pole position, it looks like, at the moment, but he wants to set the bar even higher and extend his advantage. Just over 1/10 of a second separates him and reigning champion Sem Spenkelink. Can he improve, Steve?
I don't know if he's going to improve. He's pretty much matching his personal best at the moment, but more importantly, Sem Spenkelink at the moment is right at the far side. He's round Shell Oils and coming back along the straight now, but he's 2 seconds down. He's not going to get another lap in, so that's the best we're going to see from Sem Spenkelink. It's not going to be Sem, and out throughout the top 10 at the moment, even down to the top 14, nobody is green, no one's improving themselves, so it's looking very much like Aaron Martin Pilkington for pole position alongside last season's champion Sem Spenkelink on the front row there. So that's going to be an interesting turn one with the Maserati spinning the wheels coming off the line. I think is what we're going to see. It's going to, how well can Sem get that car off the line compared to Pilkington in the BMW.
Coming down then to the final corner at Lodge, the pink Aston Martin of Garlin moves out of the way. Sem Spenkelink through the final corner, not held up by traffic. Is he going to bail? Yes, he does. So Martin Pilkington and Sem Spenkelink both say we've had enough on our final attempts and can't beat their own time. So at the moment, Martin Pilkington on pole. Sem Spenkelink second, Andreas Garlin third, ahead of Young and Vernier, two newcomers to the championship in fourth and fifth. Danny de Swart in sixth for the time being. Then it's Dennis Verkman, Bart Sverink, Colin Hines in ninth place and in pit lane. And then this man on screen at the moment in the Pulse Racing 777 Aston Martin, an all black livery at the moment as he heads up the hill, up over the crest, under the Oulton Park Bridge. He's got one more sector to complete. Can he find time? Finds 2/10. He jumps up to P8. If he finds any more, and he can see himself into the top 5 round Druids for the final time. And down towards Lodge Corner. He's going to have to give it everything on this final turn.
I'm just going to take the attention away, Tim, from Patrick, because we've got Dennis Workman, who is in 7th place currently. He was 0.4 of a second up. He's now just lost a little bit. He's 0.3. So he is potentially challenging for somewhere up at the sharp end of the grid from that P7. If he can carry these 3/10s through, he could be getting onto that second row of the grid. Just depends how he gets this final corner. He's attacking it. He's looking clean. He's looking smooth. He's got the power down. He's still showing 3/10s up. Is he going to gain? Where's he going to be?
Crosses the line and jumps up to P4 then at the death. Dennis Verkman from 7th to 4th. Patrick Vance didn't improve his time. He crossed the line a few moments before the number 444 Porsche. And a thrilling qualifying session that came right down to the death. Let's lead you through the order at the moment. Aaron Martin Pilkington takes pole position at round 1 of this season 3 of GT4s. The rookie to this championship, making his intentions known early on at 1 minute 41.829. Then it's reigning champion Sem Spenkelink alongside him in the number 75 Maserati, 0.129 of a second off that pole time. Then it's Andreas Garlin in third. He'll be joined on the second row by Dennis Verkman. Then it's Tom Young, Patrick Vernier, Danny de Swart in P7, Bart Sverink P8, Colin Hines in ninth, with Patrick Vance in the top 10. Looking at the order, down to 15th, separated by 1 second. It's Alexander Delors down in P15 in the 49 Aston Martin. And Steve, we can pause for a second, grab our breath quickly, because first qualifying session, and it seems like we've just carried on from last season. Everything being laid out there on track, and only a matter of tenths separating the pole from second place.
Yeah, absolutely. It couldn't have been much closer, could it? Really, if we'd have asked them, it was that was an awesome qualifying session there, and it's going to be an awesome race. And I'm just noticing there in the admin chatter for the server, obviously there's no pit stop this evening. It's a case of do what you fancy. But I tell you what I'm going to do, Tim. I'm going to jump on that Segway, because I think with only a minute to go before the race starts, I'm going to have to get the pedal to the metal and speed on through.
Here we go. So with bike helmet on, Steve proudly rattles down the centre of our grid on the SimSport Solutions Segway. Let's run you through the order then. Aaron Martin Pilkington on his debut appearance, pole position ahead of Sem Spenkelink, Andreas Garlin and Dennis Verkman, your top 4. Then Young on the left-hand side there, P5 ahead of Vanir in the 34. Then it's Danny de Swart in the purple and white CBSR Mercedes alongside the BMW of Bart Sverink. Then it's Colin Hines and the all-black Aston Martin of Patrick Vance rounding out the top 10. Thomas Walters swaps from a KTM to a McLaren, the 121 car in P11 alongside John Earl in the 95 McLaren. Then it's Southwell in the 170 Ginetta, the highest placed of the Ginettas, ahead of Dimitri Schenkin, the number 8 Mercedes. Delors rounds out the top 15 in the 49 Aston Martin alongside Lewis in the 76 Vantage as well. Then it's Van Gent in the number 4 Porsche, with Patrick Tractor making the swap from Ginetta to McLaren, the 313 driver starting in P18. Then it's Tim Krul in the number 90 McLaren alongside Zander Vale. Baz Van Mellis's brightly coloured rainbow Porsche goes from P21 ahead from Stefan Arvidsson. It's Evan Atafas in P23. Then further down the order, we've got a sizable grid of 40 cars. We go through Arjun Lermans. We've got Mike Vowles ahead of Jarno de Visser. Denise Pope down in 27th ahead of Frank Hopp. Then we've got a new driver in P29, Ricardo Gomicia. Then we've got Daniel Herkstra, James Like, Nicholas Malott. Well down the order is the driver who finished 4th place in the championship last season in the number 22 BMW. Then it's Manuel Willems, Frans van der Linden, Johan Planus and Zevi Half rounding out the top 36. Still going Suke Vervat, Jan Eichenboom, Lee Mosley, Ricardo Sierra in 40th position. Well, we just about made it through the grid, Steve. You just about made it back to the end of the grid on the Segway, rolling out on this first formation lap of the season. Now, we say it so often in racing, sim racing as well as real world racing, you can't win the race in turn 1, and you can certainly lose it. But add to the point that this championship can be so close. This first lap could really set yourself up for a good run for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm just catching my breath, Tim, after that ride through that grid. Absolutely awesome to see such a full grid, and I'm having one of those energy drinks that quite does literally give you wings at Monza, and just here to enjoy the racing tonight. And I think, yeah, it's going to be absolutely awesome. This first lap is going to be so intense to watch as they all try and shake into position. Everyone's going to be fighting hard for that track position, but the man we're looking at the moment, Aaron Martin Pilkington, with that man behind him, Sem Spenkelink, I mean, not taking anything away from the other guys, but these two are on the front row. Such a narrow track like Oulton Park is. That first corner, it's not necessarily a heavy braking zone or anything like that off the start. Depending where you are on the grid, obviously, is just a little bit of a lift and a flick to the right, I think, where you're starting with Aaron and Sem there at the front. So they're going to be taking that more or less flat out, accelerating hard, and it should shake out fairly well for them. It's just going to be about getting it off the line. But the mid-pack, as they go into that first corner, it could be a different story.
So it looks like Harry Lewis is stuck in the pit lane, the driver of the number 76 Aston Martin. He was set to go from 16th on the grid. And look at this aerial shot then, the front row cars, Sem Spenkelink in the blue and yellow Maserati, pulling up alongside Aaron Martin Pilkington, the pole sitter in the red and white 626 BMW. We're going to get ready for the first race of the season. 1 hour, 60 minutes, flag to flag. No need to come to pit lane. But you need to leave everything out there on track to get your season, your championship, started in the best possible way. As they round Lodge Corner for the final time under safety car or parade lap positions. And they'll go up over Dearsley to get the season underway. And the run into the first corner is going to be crucial as they come up over the crest. Revs rise and we get ready for the green flag, and it waves and we are racing here at Oulton Park, and a lightning start from Sem Spenkelink moves across to cover Aaron Martin Pilkington as they head into Oldham for the first time, and the BMW driver is going to fight back immediately, looking to the outside as they head down the hill towards Cascades. It's going to be a tricky move all the way around there, and he understeers slightly wide. The position is Sem Spenkelink. He has the whole shot. Then following in behind, it's Garlin and Workman. Then it looks like Vernier has managed to get the better of Young and move up towards 5th place on the grid at the moment as they fly through the left-hander at Island Bend and into Shell Oil's corner for the first time of asking. There were a couple of cars off in the background at the first corner running through the grass and the gravel. It looks like people have managed to rejoin as we go an aerial shot here. We can see Thomas Walters behind. That is John Earl, Patrick Vance going side by side into the chicane at Britons. They're battling for P13 and 40. And at the moment, it looks like Sem Spenkelink's able to go unchallenged by Aaron Martin Pilkington for the remainder of this first lap. A string of cars heading through the chicane, Steve. It's all about to kick off, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, that start from Sem, I mean, he was a full car length ahead of Aaron. I'm not quite sure which one of them was on pole position there, really. But yeah, fair enough. If he was in the limits of the simulations, all good. But he was definitely the man full car length in front of our pole sitter. So not quite sure whether he got it spot on and Aaron got it wrong, or whether Sem was just testing the limits of the boundaries, shall we say, the extents of the start grid. But he certainly certainly got the lead. He's defending. We can see that Maserati, it's a real handful there. He got a little bit crossed up, a little bit squiggly coming out of that final corner, but he's got the power down. As I said earlier, Aaron, I think he'll just settle in. He takes a lap or two to settle in. He will settle in. He'll follow that Maserati. Look at Sem. He's having to fight that car. He was full drift there, and Aaron is just set up behind him because that's given Sem a poor exit, and he's lost a bit of speed. Aaron's making him defend now. He's making him work, and the more he makes that Maserati work, the harder it's going to be for Sem.
Trying again to go around the outside at Cascades, nearly got the job done, but he's got the speed down the lakeside stretch into Island Bend. He did dive to the inside. He's well aware that he could put a move on the Maserati, but he needs to be careful because one mistake, one slip up could allow Andreas Garlin in the number 188 Mad Goetzel Racing Aston Martin straight through. The bright pink Aston Martin Vantage is filling the mirrors of our rookie driver. I say rookie into this championship, he's not a rookie at all. You can tell by the way he's driving. Martin Pilkington, a fantastic run out of Britain's, looking to the inside again, almost trying to force Spenkelink into a mistake. And if we know Sem well enough from the last season in GT4s and from seasons gone by in GT3s, we don't often say mistake and Sem Spenkelink in the same sentence as they come up over the crest at Clay Hill. There's carnage in the background. Jonathan Earl off into the grass. That's Patrick Vance as well, spinning to the inside. Looks like one of the Wild Things Racing Janettas is off there as well. Could be Denise Pope. Looks like drama's all kicked off at the Hislop's chicane dead, and with so many proximity, it's no surprise to see a number of machines involved in that incident. Fingers crossed they'll all be able to resume racing shortly. They won't have their races impacted too greatly, but at the front of the field, it looks like Spenkelink's managed to get his head down and just put a car's length between 6 BMW around Martin Pilkington as they head through Old Hall once again to start lap 3, heading down the hill through Denton's into Cascades, that its way into the long left-hander. Really interesting to see this train of cars all the way down to Thomas Walters in P9, really not starting to string out at all. So one mistake and one incident, I'm sure conditions here at Oulton Park. Here's Tom Young, another debutant up in P6. He's trying to harry Vernier in front of him in the 34 Porsche for the third time.
Yeah, I've just been watching Tom Young for about half a lap on the other screen, and he's really been trying to harry Vernier in that Porsche moment. But there's not a lot that Vernier can do because he's got Workman ahead, who's got Garland ahead, and you know, it's Garland really that's the cork in the bottle. It has to be said. Look how close those three track as well. Vernier just gets a little bit too much curb there, gets a little bit of air in the Porsche, and that throws him back towards Young and away from Workman up ahead. So he's the man that's under pressure in this trio at the moment. But yeah, very, very close battling. But up at the front, it is still status quo with Sem holding on to that lead. Aaron not really giving him any breathing space. He's hustling through the break. Aaron's got the easier job in getting that car stopped and getting it out onto the power. But Sem really is driving it well. He's doing a sterling job, and he's doing enough. He's doing a sterling job, and he's doing enough to keep to go, Sem.
I was going to say 5 minutes into the season, Spenkelink makes a huge slide on the exit of Old Hall. That absolutely decimates his momentum, and before they've reached turn 3, Pilkington has wrestled the lead away.
He's run
slightly wide on exit. The Maserati gets the cutback, gets the better drive out of turn 3 and down Lakeside into the Island Bend. And Aaron Martin Pilkington goes around the outside, chops the nose off of Sem Spenkelink and into Shell Oils. Holds
wide again
into the marbles. He's going to have his exit compromised because Spenkelink has put the car up the inside. They're side by side into Britain's. Martin Pilkington on the inside. Can he outbrake the Maserati outside? A bit of contact, and on the exit it's status quo. But look there, the pink Aston Martin, Garland, he's closing in. They're going to be 3 wide down the straight in towards Hislop's. But no, it looks like Garland backed out, and Spenkelink holds on to the lead. But that was a shot in the arm. He knows that he can't make a mistake as us in the number 25 BMW. Steve, it all kicked off, and you can see how quickly a race can change here at Oulton Park. One minor error can see you being challenged by 1, but 2, maybe 3 cars.
Pilko, what were you doing? He got the lead there through Sem, you know, just getting that Maserati, that BMW gets in front. Sem will have a tough job passing it back, but Aaron just seemed to, he just a little bit hot-headed, just a little bit late on the brakes, ran deep into not opportunities, and Sem only normally needs one, and he took the second one, didn't he? And he threw it down the inside at Shell Oils and didn't need that that third invitation, shall we say. He's got that the Maserati is a handful. He knows he's got Sem pushing as hard as he wants, because Sem is getting crossed up. He's losing some momentum out of some of the corners by not being at the Maserati pointing in the right direction, and he's there putting the pressure on again. But what he needs to do is, once he's achieved that overtake, to capitalise, Aaron just needs to apexes and stay in front. I think if he can do that and compose himself, it'll be a tough job for Sem to get back past that BMW.
It seems that out of Oulton at turn 1, every lap it seems Sem Spenkelink just gets a bit of a slide on, seems to just cancel out his momentum and allow Martin Pilkington to close in. In fact, he's looking to the inside, down the hill in towards Hislop. He's well aware that it's nearly there, but it's difficult. It's not presenting itself enough to him to get the pass done. The Maserati is somehow holding on in these braking zones. Sem Spenkelink doing a fantastic job so far. But like you say, Steve, once Martin Pilkington, once he gets that the next opportunity, if it comes his way again, he's got to take it. He's got to not make a mistake following on from that. As we cut down the grid then, Jan-Paul Eikelenboom in the number 31 Mercedes going around the outside of the 313, running wide through Hislop. They're side by side up over the crest of Clay Hill. And down towards Druids, Treffers cuts across the nose of the 31, 24 for now. And as we see, Spenkelink rejoining the racing line, Steve. I get the feeling he made another mistake there.
He did, Tim, yeah. Obviously, I've got the benefit of watching two screens here. I can see what's going on. That's the screen that's not on the live feed. I just saw Sem absolutely get fully crossed up. The biggest cross-up he's had of this race so far. But fortunately, he had a bit of a gap on Aaron Martin Pilkington, and Pilko could not capitalise on that mistake. But yeah, Sem was way offline. But yeah, it's every single lap Sem is crossed up in. Particularly, there's a couple of corners that he's finding challenging, and I'm sure the BMW seems to be better on the brakes. Obviously, with the addition of the help of ABS making it that bit easier. But the Maserati, if you can get things right on it, we know a couple of lads, Regan Mitchell, that raced it at SimSport. He went on, he's done a couple of seasons in it. It's as fast as anybody. He's won races in it. It's just about adapting to it, and if anyone can, Sem can.
So it's 10 minutes, this opening race of the third season of GT4 action here at Sim Racing Hub International. Let's run you through the order as they come up to grey. It's been an exciting opening stanza here at Oulton Park. Spenkelink goes slightly deep into Lodge. We could have a change for position before they reach the timing line to finish this lap side by side across the line. Spenkelink on the outside now into the right hander at turn 1. Can Martin Pilkington get up the inside? Oh, there's a slight brush between. Spenkelink kicks the rear out in an attempt to get on the power and retaliate immediately, but unable to do so. Can Martin Pilkington hold on to it through Cascades? Can he avoid the error that saw him lose the lead a couple of laps ago? Yes, he's done it. So he's now taken a lead, has Aaron Martin Pilkington, and he's held on to it. So let's run you through the order. It's Martin Pilkington leads Sem Spenkelink by a matter of inches as Sem looks to the inside into Shell Oils. They are 1-2 at the moment. Then it's a gap of 1.2 seconds. Bump between them again. Back to Andreas Garland, who's waiting in the wings should the fireworks, the drama, the action all kick off at once. Then it's Thomas Young, who's managed to climb up the order. He's now in P4 in the number 70 Mercedes. Then it's Danny de Swartz in the 57 Merc in P5, ahead of Bart Verink in the 25 BMW. Then it's Verkman in the 444 Porsche in 7th, ahead of Bernier in the 34 Porsche in P8. Then it's our first AM category car. It's Colin Hines in number 5. McLaren, he's up to P9 alongside Thomas Walters, who's 10th, rounds out in top 10. He's a second back from his fellow McLaren driver. Then it's Southwell and Van Mellis in 11th and 12th. They're separated by 3.8 seconds. Then a further 7/10 back is Tim Krul. As Sem Spenkelink gets a huge slide out of Druids. That's certainly one of his 9 lives gone. If he hasn't used 2 or 3 of them already, it's another one etched up against his name. He's going to need to just get settled down after losing the lead, because a mistake could be costly. You could come to the season finale at Monza, be looking back at this first race, thinking what might have been. To finish off the top 20, it's then Delort Van Gent in 15th, ahead of John Earl, Dimitri Schenk, Vals in P18, then Gomika Catalud in 19th, and Frank Hopp rounds out your top 20.
Yeah, I have.
And Steve, it's been fraught action up and down the order, I'm sure of it, but we've been focusing on that lead battle.
Yeah, it has, and I have been watching. I've just been, trying to focus on the closest battles on the track, and it's difficult. There's so many talented drivers out there this evening, and they're all driving extremely close together. There are battles up and down the field, and as things start to calm down a little bit at the front, maybe I will get a chance to show some of the other runners this evening. But what I was going to say is there is no doubt in my mind that Sem Spenklink has got the lap time in him. It's just the consistency, and that's not Sem. That's the car as we see Vanya get past Workman there. That was a little mistake there for Workman, I believe, as he was just checked up in the braking zone, lost a bit of traction, and that he's lost 2 places there.
So slipping down the order is Dennis Workman in the 444 Porsche. He was a pole position sitter in the previous season, P1 at Zandvoort. Best result of 4th place at Silverstone. He's not going to better that today. He's down in 8th place, 9th place now, like you say, Steve, dropping down a couple of positions in one foul swoop. Now at the front here in the battle for the final spot on the podium, looks like Garlin is now under pressure. So he's gone from being the attacker almost in the battle for the lead, waiting in the wing, to now having to check his mirrors as Tom Young in the Battenberg Sport number 70 Mercedes, the dark green with the yellow stripe over the left hand side of the car, is filling the mirrors of the bright pink Aston Martin, and into Oulton corner he's closing the gap even more so, 0.192 of a second across the line at the start of this lap. Running slightly wide through Cascades, managed to gather it up almost for a late apex to try and prioritise the exit. But in fact, it looks like Garland's managed to just draw another car's length out of his P3 position there and extend the lead slightly, as now Workman under fire from Thomas Walters, then go into the island bend side by side. Paint exchange slightly between the two of them, a brush between the McLaren and the Porsche. Workman seemed to bail out that one and think, I'll live to fight another day. We've seen it plenty of time from Walters, haven't we, Steve? He can be very daring, quite aggressive. Looks like it's worked out from this time.
Yeah, absolutely, but look what's happening up ahead now with the timing. I mean, obviously Pilkinson's got ahead, he's 1.5 seconds ahead of Spenkelink, and now they've not stopped fighting. Spenkelink's got ahead, and there's a gap back to Garland of 1.9 seconds. So Pilkinson and Spenkelink have got the pace on everybody, but looking like Pilkinson's got the pace on Spenkelink at the moment also. But yeah, they're starting to stretch the legs, and they're not battling anymore. Pilco's got some breathing space, and in fact at the last sector is 1.8 seconds up, so Pilkinson's really getting into his groove now, and he's just going to remain consistent for another 44 minutes. But meanwhile, lots of battles going on up and down the field, as we said, and we have a battle now for 10th place, I believe it is, with 12th place with Van Mellis and Kroll.
They are battling away down into Lodge Corner. Ultimate corner here, and then you go up through the kink left over the crest at Dearsley and across the line. Van Mellis in the Mode 11 Porsche Cayman, brightly coloured car, definitely can't miss it out there on the grid. They've both dropped off the back of Southwell in the 170 Ginetto, who's currently P2 in the AM category. Van Mellis is 3rd in class, and if he was to lose the position to Kroll, he would still be 3rd in class. He wants to battle for those points in the overall championship as they come through into Island Bend. Here's Frank Hopp in the Team Hapasa number 570 Audi. The sole Audi on the grid, I believe. He's looking to challenge Stefan Arvidsson in the 39 Ginetta. And we've got an Alpine as well, so there's a couple of sole entries on the grid, a couple of outliers. The Audi's certainly one of them, and Hopp looking to wrestle the car through Island Bend. As now, this battle for the final podium spot, it was 2 cars. Danny Schwartz decided he wants to be involved, so now it's 3 cars. And on the coattails of the number 57 Mercedes is Bart Sverink in the 25 BMW, so he's closing in as well. We're going to have 4 cars fighting for this final position on the rostrum at this opening round of the season at Oulton Park, as Aaron Martin Pilkington stretches his legs even more so. On the previous lap he had set a purple lap time, Let's see if he can match it this time as he crosses the line. It was a 42.6, now it does a 42.7 in comparison to Sem Spenkling's 43.0. So Aaron Martin Pilkington stretching his legs at the front of the field and looking to just distance himself from the field and edge closer to a win on his debut appearance in this championship. Andreas Garlin, though, he's having to work hard to keep P3. As Frank Hopp and Evan Tafas go side by side into Lodge, Hopp on the inside, gets the move done cleanly, and in running out through the exit of the corner, Tafas, our AM class champion from the previous season, tries to get a cut back through the right-hander, unable to do so, and up over Deer Leap and across the line. It's they hold on to the positions, but late on the brakes, the Tafas wants to get back past the Audi. They're side by side through Denton's, the right king in towards Cascades. The Audi late on the brakes, the Tafas understeering out towards the outside of the corner there. Very lucky to keep that one gathered up and keep on the grey stuff. Time lost though for the number 74 at the pink and black Wild Things Racing Porsche Cayman. They'll have to settle in behind Frank Hopp and go again. So Brown Shadow's hairpin, the back hairpin here at Oulton Park. It's a corner with plenty of positive camber to help the car throw yourself into the apex and keep the speed round. One slight mistake, you can find yourself off into the barrier, which is very close there, surrounded by gravel traps as well. Harry Lewis, 24th now, so he's fighting his way through the order. It looked like on the opening lap, the formation lap, he was stuck in pit lane, but I'm sure we can look at a replay, find that one out for you shortly. But he's 24th now on the running order, trying to find his way past. Oh, there's a spinner to the inside. I think that could have been Patrick Tractor in the 313 McLaren. And as they cross the next sector line, yes, it looks like the blue and yellow McLaren was off to the right-hand side as Harry Lewis looks her way past Malott, who's shifted from a Porsche to a BMW for this season, trying to get to terms, get to grips with this new car for him. He's coming under fire from the drive of the number 76 Aston Martin Vantage GT4. So round Lodge corner, up over the crest through Deer Leap. Harry Lewis looking like he wants to get past. Goes to the outside into turn one. Can he be late on the brakes? Yes, they are still alongside, but just through the opening part of that corner, loses out. Malott holds on to 22nd for now. Down the hill into Cascades. Lewis trying the outside line again, unable to make it work. Tries to hop on the brakes and cut back for the exit down Lakeside. He's in the slipstream, tucked in, showing his nose as well in the mirrors of the number 22, just to let him know that he's there. But I'm sure Nicholas Malott will be well aware of the Aston Martin in behind. Let's go into Shellor's hairpin. 20 minutes of racing here at Oulton Park. Feels like we've had an entire season already. There's been enough drama up and down the order. A few cars recovering as well from opening lap drama. We saw that instant at Hislops. Looks like it took out a couple of cars who are now dropped off the back of the order. And now Tom Young, P4, really harrying on, trying to hang on to Andreas Garlin. Looks like these two have just managed to gap Danny de Swart and Bart Sverring slightly. I wonder, as Aaron Martin Pilkington now has over 3 seconds advantage at the front of the field, whether Garlin and Young start thinking about, okay, let's not battle just yet, let's push on and see if we can catch Sem Spenkling, because on the previous lap, Garlin and Young setting personal best lap times in the 42.9s, quicker than Sem Spenkling to the tune of nearly 4/10 of a second. So, Steve, I think, if Sem Spenkling can just get a hold of this Mercedes, stop making those slight slides and little errors here and there that may be costing him time, he'll be able to hold off this duo. But it looks like Garlin and Young could be closing on that number 75 Maserati.
Yeah, absolutely they could, and it's all getting a little bit tight up at the front there between Young and Garlin. It's just toing and throwing a little bit on the times. I'm just going to queue up a replay, Tim. If you give me a couple of minutes, I'm just going to queue up a replay and we'll see exactly what happened at the start, all being well.
Sure thing. So up over the crest at Clay Hill, Garlin being harried on by Tom Young. Looking in our YouTube chat, A couple of people being cheered on here. We can see Michael is cheering on Colin, who's up to P8. Colin Hines in the number 5 McLaren. And we've got Jana De Visser in the chat saying, well, this was short, so it looks like De Visser was a victim of that opening 2-lap scuffle. As we see, Garlin running slightly wide on the exit of the final corner. And up over the hill and across the start-finish line, Tom Young has closed up in the number 70 Battenberg Sport Mercedes. Drivers aren't allowed to flash their lights at competitors, but I'm sure Young would be if he could, as they go through Cascade on lap 14, I believe this is now, as they thunder down Lakeside. Look at this string of cars, and here's the replay. So I believe we're going to be looking at turn 1 here on the inside of the corner as the cars thunder through. There's Sem Spenklik, Martin Pilkington further back there 2x2, Noah's Ark formation. There's a car off there through the grass as a spin to the inside. That's an Aston Martin, the number 65, dropping right down the order at the start. That was Frans van der Linden there, who has since dropped out of the race. So clearly unhappy with how his turn 1 went, and later on in the first 2 laps we did see another incident at Hislops as well, taking a few cars out. Shame to see that at turn 1, but like we said, Steve, you can win it at you can't win it at turn 1, but you can certainly lose it, and shame to see a car spinning off to the inside.
Yeah, absolutely, but I mean, it has to be said, with that many cars on the grid at such a tight track as Oulton Park, I think that was a pretty impressive start. There were a couple more incidents going through the next couple of corners, but I think on the whole, percentages wise, most of the guys made it through the first couple of corners not too badly. I won't say without swapping paint, but they did not too badly at all. But the racing is fast and furious here. We've got all the cars still relatively close together. They've started to spread out a little bit. They've got a little bit of breathing room here and there, but we will see these drivers battling as hard for 28th place as we will see them battling for first place throughout this season. But it's interesting what you say there about him. You know, the car dropped out, wasn't impressed with his first corner, decided to retire the car. That's not what you need to be doing, is it, for a season? You know, it's a 60-minute race. If you give up at the first corner, yes, you've got damage, whatever. Who's to say the other guys aren't going to pick up damage? Who's to say you're not going to have a storming race if you can carry on? Unless that damage is so bad that you're going to have to pick for repairs and be off for a long time, as we see for that. Off onto the grass and costing himself some time there and a few places as he's looking for a safe point to rejoin, and he gets on, but he's 2 places down, possibly going to lose another place as well, which will put him down to round about 30th, 31st, I think. But yeah, a championship's made up of a collection of results, and you need to get the results, you've got to finish.
Well, you think if he had carried on for that second lap, he probably would have gained positions, as there was gaggle of cars off in the grass. Good to see though, Suke Vervat taking his time to rejoin, making sure he returned to the racing surface safely, not taking out any other cars or rejoining the track rashly, and consequently damaging other people's races. A nice standard of driving being shown here up and down the order, which is great to see at the opening round. Hopefully sets the tone for the rest of the season. Drivers are very keen to make sure that not only do they have a good race, but the other drivers have a good time and they avoid penalties for any incidents as well. Now, a driver who needs to avoid incident, Aaron Martin Pilkington, he's out front. He's got a 4.1 second gap. Now, looking down the timing tower on the left-hand side there, Steve, I am slightly worried that a couple of drivers are thinking that there's a mandatory pit stop, because I noticed I think a Janetta popped down pit lane. Thomas Walters and Southwell are now in pit lane. It would be disastrous if they think they need to take a mandatory stop. That's one of the big changes for this season. No requirement to head to pit lane throughout the course of the 60-minute race. So let's see, because Walters was running inside the top 10 quite convincingly in the 1-2-1 McLaren. I think he's going to have a shock once he realises that none of the other competitors should be heading to pit lane. As they go through Hislops then, Martin Pilkington. Here's Alexander Delorque, for Lorque driving the 49 Aston Martin. Red with the checkered pattern over the bonnet, over the roof as well. He's harrying on that brightly coloured Porsche of Bas van Mellis. Dimitri Schenkin behind in the number 8 Mercedes. They rise up over the crest and down the hill towards Hislops. And it looks like they are lapping fairly consistently, these guys, down in P11, 12 and 13. They're lapping in the 43s. There's been a 45 actually for Van Mellis on that previous lap, so they've got a little bit of time there. But, hopefully they can resume the consistency and push on. Up the road you can see Tim Kroll's number 19 McLaren just over the crest there, heading in towards Lodge Corner. So we're nearing the halfway point. Very late on the brakes, Alexander Delors closing up to the back of Van Mellis into Lodge. He's almost had to take evasive action there to make sure he didn't make contact with the back of the number 11 Porsche Cayman as they go across the timing line towards turn 1. There is a yellow flag out, Steve, and looking on the map on the right hand side, that's number 76 Aston Martin, I think, is on the gravel. That was, I think that might be a car that was off from practice or qualifying, and it's continued on. I'm sure see that from the cameras as they go round. Yellow flag is indeed still out, and yes, Harry Lewis, he's in the wall, the number 76 Aston Martin at the Shell Oils hairpin, and he looks to be staying there. He's now headed back to pit lane, so the yellow flag is cleared. What a shame for Lewis, who was running fairly strongly as well, recovering from the issue on the formation lap to run inside the top 25 positions. He looks to have joined the other retiree from the start of the race as well, so a couple of cars dropping out. It's a shame to see. This battle though, Steve, exactly like you were saying, it doesn't matter whether they're fighting for the race win or fighting for P11, they're certainly going to give it their best.
Absolutely, yeah, they're just really pushing on now. As we can see, Van der Laar, he's the meat in the proverbial sandwich, and he needs to try and get past Van Mellis and, you know, push him hard, try and force a mistake, not be distracted too much by the multicoloured coat that Mellis is wearing, and just see what he can do, because any slight slip up and that Mercedes behind him is going to pounce. He's just dropped off the back of them a little bit, but at certain sectors in this lap these three all really close up. As we see them closing up under the brakes now, I think the Mercedes has got some of the legs on the straight, and I think that's where it comes into its own and catches up with these two cars in front.
So across the line then, riding aboard with the driving 49 Aston Martin of Alexander Delors. In the background there, actually in the mirror, you can see, picture in picture with the rearward facing camera, a slight mistake from Schenk in the number 8 Mercedes. But as we, with half the race gone, half the race to go, let's run you through the order then. 17 laps completed, it's debutant. Aaron Martin Pilkington, he leads the way in the 626 SimSport BMW. He's ahead of reigning champion Sem Spenklink in the 75 Dark Sky Racing Maserati. The gap of 4.4 seconds. He's been extending that slowly but surely since taking the lead inside the first 20 minutes. Then it's Andreas Garland rounding out the podium, but closing in on second place in the bright pink Aston Martin number 188. Then it's Tom Young, another rookie to the series. He's in P4 ahead of Danny de Swart in P5. They're separated by 0.4 of a second in the battle for fourth place. Then it's Bart Svering in the number 25 BMW in 6th ahead of Van Eer in the 34 Porsche. Then it's our leading AM class driver Colin Hines is down in 8th place in the number 5 McLaren. He's ahead of Dennis Berkman, who's dropped down the order to P9, and Tim Kroll in the number 19 McLaren round out your top 10. Then it's Baz Van Mellis, Alexander Delors, Dimitri Schenk, Vals and Arvidsson completing your top 15 ahead of Hopner Tafas, Gomachir Kalataud ahead of Vale, Eichlin Boom, Denise Pope, Thomas Walters, who's improving his position on screen, up the inside in towards Hislops, gets the move done on our AM class runner-up of the previous season, Denise Pope. 79 Wild Things Racing Janetta dropping back down the order, and her teammate Evan Tafas making the move on Frank Hopp in the 570 Audi. But as they run wide through Lodge, it's going to be side by side across the start-finish line. It's Hopp on the inside, Tafas on the outside, in towards the first corner at Old Hall. Can Tafas get it done on the brakes and swoop around the outside? He's certainly giving it a good go, and Hopp makes us an error there on the exit. A bit too eager on the power, slightly offline. He slides to the inside and has to withdraw his defence of the position and let Natafas go there. They're battling hard for what is P16 in the running order.
These two have been battling for around about 33 minutes, Tim. They've not been apart, have they? It's been swapping that position for the whole race. And we see the Audi there just running very, very deep into Shell Oils. But yeah, they've swapped positions at least half a dozen times in the first 30 minutes or so. So expect this battle to bubble on. No pit stop, no mandatory stop, so nothing to break it up. It's just down to the driver, lights to checkered flag. And these two are giving us a little bit of a good showing, the Audi and the Porsche this evening.
Well, it's something we saw in previous seasons. You see drivers coming up against each other, as we see a McLaren off in the background there, coming on the exit of Cascade. Quite sure who that was. Looks like it could have been the number 95, the white and blue car. Just get a confirmation of who that is. It could have been John Earl in the Dynamic Kinetic Racing car. But yeah, we see drivers who find their competitors, find their rivals and stick with them. We've seen plenty of battles between similar names up and down the order. And like we say, they want those bragging rights. They want to beat. It doesn't matter if they're fighting for P10 in the race, could be fighting for P20 in the championship. A battle is a battle to be won. And the drivers like going at it hard and fair in this championship. And we're seeing that early on here, the opening round at Oulton Park. If you are enjoying the action, please like the stream on whatever platform you're on, be that Twitch or YouTube. Consider subscribing or getting joined in with this community here at Sim Racing Hub International. Plenty of racing ahead of us and plenty of action to be had across both the GT4s and GT3 seasons. The GT3 Championship will be returning next week, I believe. We'll have endurance racing as well to round out the 2021 endurance calendar. So plenty of on-track action still to be had in the remaining few months of the calendar year. Dmitry Shenko on screen, pushing hard in the stubborn hour racing, number 8 Mercedes, as we're going to cut to a replay. Here it is. This is the number 95 McLaren. So yes, that is John Earl, debutant in the championship, running wide on the exit of Cascade. And there's no saving that there, off into the barrier on the inside. What a shame for Earl on his first race in the championship. He's plummeted down the order. I think he headed to pit lane early on as well. And now finds himself well down. I'm actually scrolling through my timing screen. 32nd position. I believe he's the first car that's currently a lap down. There are 4 cars that are off the lead lap. And John Earl heading those up. And looking at the timing screen though, Steve, just seen a new fastest lap of the race coming from the number 188. Andreas Garlin is putting that Mad Goetzer Racing Aston Martin to good use. And he's trying to push away from Thomas Young, and in doing so, Steve, he's caught right up to Sem Spenkling. Missed that one. The gap now 0.4 of a second between the number 75 Maserati and the number 188 Aston Martin. So that gap was closed up dramatically as we've been watching battles further down the order. The fight for second place is well and truly on. Spenkling in the 75 Maserati has dropped back from the race lead after losing it to Aaron Martin Pilkington. 5.1 seconds off the lead, but now his mirrors are beginning to be filled again by this bright pink Aston Martin heading down into Lodge Corner. And as we see a spinner to the inside, another McLaren off as Garland runs wide, potentially just distracted by the yellow flag warning and a car off to the inside. He dips all 4 wheels over the curb. Could be another warning for track limits as Spenkling gets a big slide on into Old Hall. That has all but ruined his momentum on the exit of the corner, and Garlin is within striking distance, closing up again through. Also, you see another slide from Spenkling through the opening half of the corner, through the long left-hander at turn 3, losing time, losing momentum. Garlin is going to be looking for a way past shortly, as in the background we see Danny de Swart looking to the inside of Thomas Young. These guys are fighting hard with 23 minutes to go. Garlin stiffs blood with Spenkling.
Walters in the wars again.
As we see Thomas Walters 1-2-1 McLaren on the exit of the Shell Oils hairpin. He doesn't run wide there, so he's not in the grass on the exit, one of the trickier corners on the tracks, but in the braking zone into Britain's, just runs it in deep. and loops the car round through the transition between the right and left. And he's off to the right hand side, bump into the barrier for good measure, has to get the car turned round and back onto the racing surface. But this battle here, Steve, Garlin and Spenkelink are going to go at it for P2, but they've got to be careful because one mistake, one error, one potentially too ambitious move could find themselves falling back into the grass with Tom Young and Danny de Swart.
Yeah, but I'm not quite sure whether that's going to happen anytime soon, because de Swart and Young are battling hard as well. As you can see on the screen, they're even closer together, so if they start battling, they're going to hold themselves up and just leave Garlin a little bit of room up there. But Spenkelink looks, I think it's those little moments that Spenkelink has that's costing him times. As I said right at the beginning of the race, he has got the pace, he's got the lap times in him, he can do it. He's just trying to be consistent with what is a very, very difficult car to drive. Let's not underestimate how difficult that car is to drive. The fact is, it's the only Maserati on the grid. That just tells you how difficult it is to drive, and Sem's doing a fantastic job up in second place with it. But I do believe it's those little errors, those little sideways steps, those little wheel spins that, you know, on the track, on the power coming out the corners, that's costing him the time that's allowed Garlin to catch, because Sem is pulling away and he's maintaining a gap again until the next time he gets crossed up coming out of a corner.
You see Tom Young heading in deep into the Shell Oils hairpin, losing a bit of time to Danny de Swart. Two Mercedes going at it for P4 and 5. Volkswagen managing just to hold on 2 seconds back from the number 57 CBSR racing car. The camo livery, purple, white and black, certainly going to be obvious to Thomas Young looking in his mirrors. You won't want to do that. You'll want to keep pushing on and pushing forwards, potentially in a position to benefit should Garlin and Spenkelink decide to exchange blows in the battle for P2 over the crest at Clay Hill. Cobra Snell in the YouTube chat raising a good point as well, Steve. We should start seeing tyre pressure issues, he says. Those curbs are brutal. As we see a spinner off to the left-hand side, that's the 195 Mercedes reversing away from the track, doing his best to steer clear of any drama. That is Manuel Willems off the track. But yes, tyre pressures, Steve, we know that's an issue. We know that that's something that can cost drivers, you know, nearly a second, if not more, at a track like Oulton Park. And with such razor-sharp curbs at certain places and the brutal chicanes, you know, you've got to hit those curbs for the optimum line, but doing so comes at a cost, and we could see drivers picking up punctures and struggling into this final 20 minutes of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. It's difficult when there is no mandatory pit stop. Yeah, you do have to manage those tyres. The tactician in you has to come out, and you have to know when to push, when to defend. And for some of the drivers, they've just not had the time to you know, just not push, drive steady, and try and look after those tyres. They've been under constant pressure for the whole of this race. So it's you know, it's difficult. It's a difficult one, and especially on a track like Oulton Park, with it being so tight, twisty, braking zones, you know, all the stop starts and like I say, the tight corners and onto the power. There's a lot of stresses going through these tyres. See a little bit of contact there.
Contact between Spenkelink and Garlin. Garlin off to the inside. They both skip across the grass at Hislops. It looked like Garlin had found the space on the outside. Spenkelink had made a slight error on the exit of the chicane at Britain. Then up over the hill and down towards Hislops. Garlin smelt blood, he went to the outside, but Spenkelink closed the door and they made side-to-side contact, both of them having to get off the brake and run through the grass at the chicane at Hislops through Knickerbrook. They managed to return to the racing surface fairly unscathed. The only thing that's gone missing, though, is their advantage over Young, who now is within a matter of car length from the back of the bright pink Mercedes. As we see, this is the instant that cost Manuel Willems the position in towards Druitt. He's got the Ginetta in behind. Runs wide, tries to cut back onto his line, and there's just contact between the two of them. Very much a miscommunication through the double right-hander at Druids. Garlin sniffs blood, and Danny de Swart making a daring move up the inside of Cascades. Gets the job done late on the brakes. Danny de Swart takes P4, wrestles it away from Young. And that move there has actually cost them a bit of time towards Garlin. But Danny de Swart needs to kick on now, needs to keep the advantage. As we see Garlin running wide into the Shell Oils hairpin. He's a bit flustered with gentleman exchange with our reigning GT4 champion. And as they head in towards Britain, there hasn't been too much change in terms of order, but Danny de Sport's move. Let's see if he can push on and grab onto Garland whilst he's still regaining momentum. Traffic ahead as well. That's a Porsche that's further down the order, running in 27th position. That is Ricardo Maciera, debutant as well. He'll need to get out of the way, receiving blue flags, not only in game but from the marshals as well, trackside, waiting furiously to let him know that he is in the lead battle and not to get involved in this fight for what is the final position on the podium. In fact, it's second place as well, because Spenkelink is unable to disappear into the distance. So as we come up towards the final 17 minutes of the race, Aaron Marsden-Pilkington, who's been dealing with traffic as and when, has got a 5-second lead over Spenkelink. Garland, de Sport and Young are all together in camera shot. In fact, dealing with that traffic has maybe just dropped Young back a little bit more. There's 2, 3, 4, 5 car lengths now separating the 57 and 70 Mercedes. And it's 3 cars battling for P2. They're going absolutely hammer and tongs at each other in this opening round of the season. It's not all said and done for Martin Pilkington, Steve, because he needs to keep clean, not make a mistake, because he'll find himself slipping back into the clutches of this battle. If one error can lead to 2, can lead to 3. Can't afford to do that with 16 minutes to go.
Absolutely not. One mistake. I mean, he's got a 5-second lead, but that's not enough time to be off the track facing the wrong way and back on. You know, he could very easily find himself down in 5th position if he, and that's if he has a quick rejoin. The other thing to mention regarding tyre pressure as well, which I overlooked, is obviously, they use a lot of curb here at Oulton Park. And the simulation does demonstrate very well that when you hit the curbs with these tyres, you do lose tyre pressure. We have had in other races around Oulton Park with other classes. We did a Ginetta Cup, and we had guys having to make pit stops because they actually had punctures, they had flat tyres.
Oh,
Garland!
Big error for Garland on the exit of Knickerbrook. Gets over the curb, tries to gather the 188 Aston Martin up, and in doing so slides into the barrier. Head-on collision onto the left-hand side. That's dropped in behind de Sport and Young. So now Danny de Sport up onto the podium positions. And moments ago, Aaron VD in the YouTube chat, Danny de Sport for podium. Well, he's in that position now. He's gained from the mistake from Andreas Garland. Just as we were saying, nothing is said and done. It's not over until the checkered flag is out and you've crossed that finish line. Garland drops off the podium in position to take P2 off Sem Spenkelink. Now finds himself in P5 with an 8/10 advantage over Bart Sverink in the number 25 BMW. I wonder whether tyre pressure loss is playing into that, Steve. I wonder now whether drivers are going to have to start dealing with a slightly tail-happy and a rather overall unhappy car underneath them in this final quarter of the race.
It's a slippery slope, Tim. If you are having tyre pressure issues, it just compounds the problem, because hitting those curbs with soft tyres, you just end up pushing more air out, losing more tyre pressure, losing more traction, and before you know it, you are having to make that pit stop because you are just bleeding lap times out, and just you know where you start losing position. So hopefully not. Hopefully they can manage the last 14 minutes, but as I said before, we have experience at Oulton Park racing with the GT4 class, and we have had drivers suffering punches who attack the drivers that are attacking the curbs too much. So it'll be interesting to see if we've got any of those this evening. But yeah, this is the time now, the last 15 minutes. Normally, the guys would have had, GT4 race might have been shorter than this, or they would have had the pit stop, they would have had the opportunity to change the tyres and come out with a fresh set, but they're pushing them. The tyres should last, it's just how they look after them. As you can see there, all 3 cars going over that curve there, so it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting to see if anyone does start to lose out big time.
Well, this is the battle for the podium positions in the AM category. Colin Hines in the number 5 McLaren is up off in the distance in P8. Then you've got Dennis Workman, Tim Crawl and Alexander Delors in 9th, 10th and 11th. A gap of probably over 15 or so seconds. In fact, it's nearly 20 seconds between Colin Hines and his next competitor in category, which is Baz Van Mellis, on screen now in the number 12 Mode 11 Racing. Sorry, the number 11 Mode 11 Racing Porsche, the Technicolor Dreamcoat car. heading down towards Lodge Corner, and it's Dimitri Schenk behind. That's positions 2 and 3 in the AM class, 12 and 13 overall. They'll be going at it because this could be, again, a result that factors into the championship. 8 races, or 8 rounds in total, 10 races to score some points and put them against your name and get your championship position sewn up and sorted. And an AM class battle is just as important as the battle for the overall championship. I know Evan Atafas was very happy to win the AM class last year, and Denise Pope was happy with P2. A little bit gutted not to be closer to a competitor come the final round of the season. So it might be that the second category, I'm doing air apostrophes, obviously not able to see that on the commentary, but I'm doing that. It might be the second class. The racing is just as intense, the drivers are just as talented and just as committed to getting a good result. Van Mellis through Britain's chicane though, losing momentum there. That's allowed Dimitri Schenk to close up. Just seen actually that it looks like Colin Hines might have made a mistake because he's dropped back from 8th to 9th. So on that previous lap, he's lost out to Dennis Workman in the number 444 Porsche. There's no change for P8 and 9 overall. Hines holds on to the AM class lead as we come towards the final 10 minutes of racing. Danny de Svort actually looks to have closed up on Sem Spenkelink for P2. That's 8/10 between them now, as this trio thunder under the bridge there and towards Lodge Corner. Further down the order as well, we've got Vals, who's a debutant as well in the C series, in the number 32 Mercedes. He's 14 seconds off the back of this battle on screen at the moment, running P4 in the AM class, but 14th overall. As we cut to a replay over Clay Hill, this is Walters and Daniel Herkstra, I believe, coming into the right hand, double right hand with Druids. Who's going to make the mistake here? Looks like, in the background is the Ginetta going off, and Herkstra spins, close, and makes contact with the Ginetta. They spin as he just slid across the track there, not in control of the car, and that's tapped round the number 79. That's Denise Pope. Off into the barrier. Heartbreaking, Steve.
Yeah, I think Denise lost it on her own before, so I think they were both technically separate incidents, but just at the same time and at the same point on the track. Really, really unfortunate there, but that's racing. These things happen. So yeah, really unfortunate to see both of them there lose it and some big contact with the barriers.
What a shame to see races undone within the closing stages. So close to the checkered flag, as we see a slight slide there from Delors on the exit of the chicane. But here it is, the battle for P2 as we come into the final 10 minutes of this, the opening round of the Sim Racing Hub International GT4 Season 3. Aaron Martin Bilkerton maybe 6.27 seconds up the road, but Sem Spenkelink and Danny de Svort are going at it for P2. This is the battle for the final 2 steps on the podium. They're 3.2 seconds back to Tom Young, and Bart Sverink hurries in behind, 6/10 back from the Mercedes. Then it's Patrick Vernier, Dennis Workman, Colin Hines back up to P8 with Garlin in pit lane potentially with a puncture or with damage following that spin at Knickerbrook. Tim Pearl rounds out the top 10 as we see, I think that's Sevi Half pulling to the inside on the Porsche and just letting the competition through. It's very heads up driving. The driver of the number 97 Cayman, just to let this battle go through. Doesn't want to be involved, doesn't want to be the deciding factor in what is a intense fight for P2. Spenkelink holding on though for now with 8 minutes and 47 seconds on the clock as they go through his lots. Spenkelink will be willing that timer on, won't he, Steve? He'll just be watching those seconds, hoping that they just go down a bit faster, because at the moment it looks like the Sport's got the momentum. It looks like he's going to be making a move in the not too distant future.
Yeah, absolutely. He's really, he's making that Mercedes work. He's got the speed, he's got the pace, got the consistency, and he's got on the back of Spenkelink, and he's really going to push him now. And he is really pushing him now as they're going into the final corner now onto the start-finish straight with 8 minutes still on the clock to go. This is it. I think on this next lap, I think we may see a move, maybe even into Shell Oils. I'm not quite sure if he's going to have the pace in the Mercedes, but he's certainly putting him under pressure.
Looking at the track map, there is BMW ahead of them. So there is some traffic to be dealt with before the checkered flag. If this pace continues, they will be catching other cars as well. But through Cascade, where Desfort made that decisive move on Young, he's once again closing the gap, looking to the inside into the island bend, just maybe showing his nose, trying to distract Seb to run towards Shell Oil's hairpin. As late on the brakes as you possibly dare. Let the camber of the right-hander hairpin catch you and propel the car round. Spits you out, the camber disappears, the track flattens out as you brake and turn then in towards Britain's, left, right and then left again. Careful not to cut it and pick up a track limits warning. It looks like Deswart just has the car underneath it to challenge Sem Spenkelink for P2. He's just able to keep that battle, keep the car in the position. And should Sem have another slide, have another slight error, Deswart will be there to pound as we go picture in picture on the main screen. Berkman trying to find his way past Debutant Veneer as they go into the Hislop chicane and then into the right-hander at Nickerbrook. They're closing the door rather aggressively on Berkman, but no contact between the two Caymans. So they rise up over the crest and up over Clay Hill towards Druid. Looks like Spenklink's just had a good enough middle sector to be able to pull out a car's length or so on Danny Deswart. That could be all it takes to just calm the battle, Steve.
Yeah, it's like I said, you know, Spenklink's got the lap times, he's got the pace. It is just those little, I won't even call them mistakes, because at the end of the day, taming that beast is no easy job. But you know, it's those little tiny, you know, errors coming out the corners, not quite getting the traction, getting it crossed up. That's what costs him. But he has got the lap times. If he can put the lap in, he's got that time. But what Deswart needs to do is he needs to get on the back of that Maserati, and when he makes a move, he's got to be decisive. He's got to really go for the move. No half-hearted attempt, because that will see both of them off. As we see Spenklink sideways under braking, they're really getting the car crossed up a little bit. It hasn't cost him too much time, but Deswart is going to have to really pick his time, because we know Sem's an incredibly talented driver. He's good at defending, he's good at putting that car on the tarmac where he needs it. So when Deswart goes, he's got to make sure he gets the job done, and unlike Aaron Martin Pilkington did in the opening laps, when he gets past, he then needs to hit the apexes and stay in front, because Sem will come straight back at him. I do think Deswart's got the pace at the moment based on consistent laps. He's closed that gap down repeatedly, he's on the back and he's pressuring Sem, but he's going to have to be decisive. No half-hearted attempts here. Nothing, that won't count, that won't cut it, that'll just put them both off the track.
Into Druids then, a double right-hander. Deswart tucked up under the rear wing. Spenkling makes a slide on the exit. There's a lapped car in front as well. The BMW pulls off to the right-hand side, but potential miscommunication between the driver in second place and the red and black BMW, causing Spenkling just to weave from one side to the other, and cost him just valuable momentum, valuable time. Deswart really close now to the back of the number 75 Dark Sky Racing Maserati. Then nose to tail on the exit of Old Hall Corner, then down the straight through Denton's, down towards Cascade. Can Deswart pull off the same move he did on Young? No, not quite. Spenkelink closes the door. They stay in the same positions, P2 and P3. But the battle has shortly commenced now, looking to the inside towards the island bend. Spenkelink defends. They are nose to tail through the left-hander. Need to be careful not to run wide onto the grass, seeing as they are offline. Into Shell Oils. Deswart looks like he's trying to prioritise the exit of the corner.
Absolutely.
To set up a move into Britain's, but can't get it done, can't carry that momentum. Heads up driving though, it seems, from Danny Deswart, Steve. He seems to be trying to eye up where he can make the move. The only problem is he's running out of time. 3 3/4 minutes to go.
He's running out of time, and while he's trying to do that, he's potentially losing a little bit of ground, albeit they're almost on the same piece of tarmac. He needs to be as close as he is now. He needs to be within the 10th of Sem to get a move done. Being 2 or 3 tenths back, he's no good at all. He needs to be there. Just interestingly, it's been pointed out in the chat the lap times of everybody, we're really seeing the tyres dropping off now, because everybody is well over a second down on their average lap times or their best lap times. You know, the pace really has dropped off a minute, and that is obviously a sign that these tyres now are getting past the best potentially, but also people are losing pressure in the tyres, and they may be overheating even, who knows, but everybody's suffering the same fate as we speak. I mean, Pilkington's best lap was a 1:42.4, and his last lap was a 43.7. You know, and Spenkling's best lap's a 42.8, and his last lap was a 44.5, so he's nearly 2 seconds down.
So as we see, DeSwart again to the inside into Cascade, trying to make it work. He's almost trying to just distract Spenkelink into there and just say, look, I'm coming, and Spenkelink gets out of the steering, but he doesn't. Spenkelink holds his line, turns in, sticks to his line, and keeps the position. Eyes forward stuff from the driver of the 75 Maserati. DeSwart is not going to force this driver into a mistake, a reigning champion. He's going to have to do it the hard way. He's going to have to muscle his way through. And here at Oulton Park, that is easier said than done. With 2 minutes to go, the timer is running out. It seems, though, on the exit of Britain's there, that the Mercedes gets a better drive out of the change of direction. And he seems to close up again, looking to the inside, under the brake. Nearly gets it done. Spenkelink has to avoid the Mercedes, goes over the grass, costs himself plenty of time, dirties his tyres all the while, and DeSwart gets a great exit from Knickerbrook. Side by side again, Spenkelink, in taking his line, closes the door on the face of Danny DeSwart as they head up over Clay Hill and into Druids. Spenkelink on field, he's slightly rattled, and Danny DeSwart getting desperate to make the move.
Yeah, I think Spenklink's nervous, because to be fair to DeSwart, you know, I mean, he should have... showing your nose and things like that doesn't gain you overtakes. You won't rattle a driver like Spenklink, although he got sideways coming out there. You won't rattle him by just showing his nose. The only time you want to show your nose when you're behind a driver like Spenklink is when you're showing it to force it down the inside, and like I said, make a decisive move, make that overtake, because all you are doing, if you're not going to make an overtake and you're trying to rattle him, you're just costing yourself time. And when you've only got 1 minute left on the clock, you haven't got time to do that. You need to be eyeing up that decisive move, make that overtake, as I believe we're probably roundabout on the last lap now, Tim.
I was going to say, it's going to be close as to whether we get another tour of the nearly 3-mile circuit here at Oulton Park. Aaron Martin Pilkington is clear of his competition, 8.6 seconds ahead of Sem Spenkelink, who, well, there's barely a sheet of paper between himself and DeSwart in the 57 CBSR Racing Mercedes as they go through Britain. It does look like this is going to be the final time with 20 seconds on the clock. Here is your race leader on screen, but the battle is still in picture, so you can keep tabs on it. Side by side, actually, in the background of shot, Tom Young and Bart Sverink into his lops. They're together in the battle for what is P4. They're getting past. Sverink makes the move on the final lap of the race up to P4 in his debut in class. What a stout move there from the driver of the 25 BMW. But one BMW is out front and looks to be on course for a race victory on his debut appearance in the Sim Racing Hub International GT4 Championship. Round Lodge Corner for the final time. Up over Deerleap, Aaron Martin Pilkington is going to win at Oulton Park round 1. He makes his championship intentions clear. He is here to battle, and he is not going to take no for an answer as Sem Spenkelink and Danny DeSwart to the line. Spenkelink holds on to P2. DeSwart in third place, a tenth of a second behind. Bart Sverink looks like, it's good to say, looks like he's taken P4. The timing screens is showing Tom Young in P4, so he must have got back through on the BMW. Then it's Dennis Berkman in P6. Davidson Veneer in 7th as well in the 34 Porsche Cayman. Colin Hines on his first appearance in the championship is going to win in the AM category in the number 5. McLaren ahead of Tim Kroll in the 90 McLaren as well. Then Dimitri Schenk rounding out the top 10 in the number 8 Mercedes. He must have made his way past both Van Melis and Alexander Delors in the closing 15 minute. That's 11th and 12th. Then it's Mike Vowles for Dynamic Kinetic Racing in P13 ahead of Stefan Arvidsson in P14. Then in P15 we got Frank Hopp in the 570 Audi, who'd been battling all race, it seemed, with Evan Natafas, our reigning AM class champion, who's actually sliding wide through Lodge Corner and off into the barrier. Oh dear, Evans in the wall on the final lap. He gets back on the track. Ooh, close quarters there. Janetta and Thomas Walters coming flying through. They're on the exit of Druids. Gets the car back on track, but surely has got front end damage. He's now been caught by, that looks like, teammate Denise Pope, and into the final corner at Lodge. Natafas runs wide, off into the grass, through the gravel, through the beat, back onto the grey stuff. Positions lost, unfortunately, for the number 74 car as he crosses the line down in 20th position. But Steve, we've seen it plenty of times in this GT4 championship. It's never over till it's over. And one driver who certainly kept his mind clear of any thoughts, any mistakes, Aaron Martin Pilkington, victory on his debut in this series.
Yeah, absolutely solid drive, and we called it at the beginning, didn't we? We said if he can get past Sem, because of the nature of the Maserati, Sem would find it hard to get back past Aaron. And once he had that bit of a pass in the first few laps where he let Sem back through due to a couple of mistakes, missing his braking point, running deep. But on the second time of asking, when he went past him, within a lap he was almost a second ahead. Within a couple of laps it was a second and a half, and he really made it count. And then it was almost like he eased off a little bit and just eked that gap out a few tenths at a time and just concentrated on being consistent. Absolutely fantastic driving for his first time here. Like you say, he's really put the marker down for everybody and said, this is me, I'm Aaron Martin Pilkington, come and beat me if you can.
And even with Sem Spenkelink, reigning champion, big name to come up again, he managed to get the better of our reigning champion, who we must say was, I wouldn't say struggling, Steve, but it was certainly having to wrestle that Maserati. Look, we've said it a number of times on this stream, but that car is a challenge, a unique challenge. It looked like Sem's got a little bit of work to do if he's going to continue fighting for this championship, because that P2 was very hard to come by.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a fantastic field, and let's not forget this evening. It's the first time a lot of these drivers there are new drivers to the field. They've got to get used to each other. Also, the size of the field. We had 40 cars taking to the start this evening, and as I said, the opening few laps were absolutely fantastic from everybody, because when you're still learning the people around you, when you're getting used to those people around you, and you're trying to work out what they're going to do, how they're going to react in certain situations, I think it is a very impressive race from everybody involved this evening. Yes, I'm sure there'll be a few drivers with a few stories to tell and maybe a few protest forms to put in, but on the whole, that was some good racing tonight. I'm not, you'd be hard pushed to really, pick out the driver of the evening, because I think they all did very, very well. They all had their battles, they all found their space on track, they all found their sparring partners, as you alluded to halfway through that race. They started to find their match on track, as it were, and they all enjoyed some good battling, and we certainly enjoyed watching the battling this evening.
Certainly so, and yeah, like you say, it'd be very difficult to pick a driver of the race. Aaron Martin Pilkington's performance was stellar, considering he's new to this championship. Didn't take no for an answer, like we've said it, and didn't buckle under pressure. And in fact, it would be great to grab a couple of the drivers into the commentary room, and we can have a word with them, and we'll go to our race winner on his debut in the series, Aaron Martin Pilkington. You had to fight for that one, Aaron. You got a really exciting battle at the start there with Sem. How's it feel to take victory on your first race in the championship?
Yeah, I mean, the guy absolutely shafted me off the start. I couldn't believe it. I don't know, it was, obviously Oulton's not a really great place or track to overtake, so it had to be something quite pushy, but it seemed like, even though we had some really good battles with Sem, who drove amazingly, he seemed to struggle at the last corner, which seemed to be the kind of spot, really the weakest spot where I could make an opportunity there. So, yeah, good racing between him and me, but yeah, looking forward to the next race.
Well, like you say, Aaron, you had to make the move, but you did have to make it twice, because you did get past, then a slight error lost you the lead, and then you had to really just focus on rounding out the race, all 40 minutes of it remaining, and with lap cars, traffic and tyre issues. I mean, how was that final 3/4 of the race? It must be hard to just keep pushing on.
Yeah, well, initially, obviously being behind Sam, he had different braking zones to me. So you know, when you're following someone so long, you kind of get used to their pattern. But then once you're out in front, you don't break from that pattern quick enough. You you kind of make a mistake. And then the last 3 quarters of the race, it was more about not about lap times, but more about preservation of tires. So I would lose maybe like 0.6 a lap intentionally just to preserve the tires, and I only ended up with like 1 puncture. So it was pretty good overall.
I was going to say that was going to be my next question. You know, Oulton Park, we were talking about it during the race. Tyres, something that are very limited here with the curves, with the nature of the track. How did you find managing the tyres? Was that something you had to consciously do, or was your 626 BMW pretty handy on its rubber?
It definitely wasn't handy on its rubber. I really had to preserve, and when you're like, I've done Oulton before, and I kind of feel like you have to lift off a few laps, and then you can push it, and then when you start to lose pressure, you have to preserve again. And behind Sem, it was kind of ebbing and flowing with that little bit of a distance, but when I got into the lead, it was kind of just maintain the tires. It's an hour race, so I feel like it's more of a priority than hot lapping when it comes to racing at Oulton Park.
Well, Aaron, thank you very much for speaking to us. Congratulations on your race victory. I look forward to seeing you next time out.
Thank you very much, Tim.
And our P2 finisher, our reigning champion, Sem Spenkelink. Sem, a very exciting race for you. You decided to pick the Maserati, I'm sure, for the challenge, and it certainly proved that this evening.
Oh yeah, this car, I mean, it's absolutely epic. I can't say otherwise, but also it's making me sweat. I now have my private swimming pool.
Oh, very good. Well, you know, how did you find the car then here at Oulton Park? Because we saw you slipping and sliding all over the place. A big change from the KTM that you drove to championship victory last season. You're in for a tricky run of things this time round, aren't you, with this car?
Yeah, first off, I really didn't expect to be on the front row here. Like, when I watched the practice times, there were like 5-6 guys faster than me. But in the end, during quali, like, I think I improved maybe 4/10 on my previous best, and then the other guys didn't really improve anymore. So suddenly stuck up in front. Managed to get Aaron at the start, but I knew he was going to be quick. And Aaron already hit the nail on the head, because all practice I had massive struggles with the last corner, where there's like a little dip before the corner, and the tires would kind of jump in the air, and I would lock up. Like, the Maserati obviously not having the ABS system, tires would lock up, and I would miss the apex by like a meter and lose so much speed coming onto the final straight. And that's where Aaron, of course, capitalized and overtook me. So well done to him. But other than that, it was so much fun to drive, but also a struggle. Towards the end, I had 3 punctures and a severe flat spot on my front right. So I had to fight for my life to keep Andreas and Danny behind, which eventually I managed. So I'm really happy about that.
So you're fighting the car, and like you say, you're fighting a number of drivers out here from last season. Where you were more often than not the benchmark driver, the person to beat. Coming into this season, though, it looks like there's plenty of competition around, not only in Aaron Martin Pilton's tonight's race winner, but Andreas Garlin looks strong. Danny de Swart as well. Also, newcomer Tom Young as well, showing pace in the Mercedes. You've got plenty of drivers you're going to have to beat this season. Sorry, Sem, if you're going to retain your title.
Yeah, so that's going to be very difficult. Of course, the car, we'll have to see how it behaves on other tracks, which is going to be a big factor. But yeah, we have to say that the grid, it has strengthened a lot since last season, and there is much more competition, so it's going to be very, very tough. But I'm looking forward to the challenge.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Sem. Congratulations on your P2.
Cheers, buddy.
We'll go to our P2 finisher in the AM category, but it was P10 overall for Dimitri Schenk in the number 8 Stubborn Hour Racing Mercedes. Dimitri, an exciting race for you. You were locked in battle with Alexander Delors and Bas Van Melis for seemingly the entire race. How was your event this evening?
Yeah, exactly. As you said, it was very exciting. First of all, I was really surprised to be up there in qualification. I really didn't have time to practice, and I did 20 laps today, so I was expecting to start somewhere in the back. But somehow I got a lap together, so I started in P13, P14 or something like that. And just decided it's a long race, no pit stop, so let's see if I can keep out of trouble, and we'll see where we end up. And I think that went fine. We had a small tap with Bas, but managed to save it. That stuff happens in racing, and in the end, I could fight back to the Alexander Delors and Bas. So yeah, there was no harm done there, and I really didn't want to get into that fight. They were. I had a feeling I was maybe slightly faster, but not fast enough to really pass them, except when you make a real lunge, and I didn't want to do that. So I was just hanging back a bit, seeing what would happen if there would be a mistake, one or two.
Last season you drove the Ginetta with the similar livery as well, the black and green. How are you finding the Mercedes in this first race? Obviously plenty of action to still be had and plenty of time to get up to speed, but how are you finding the AMG?
Yeah, I'm really liking it. It's very nice on the curbs. You can just take it easy, and that's something the Ginetta doesn't really like. And of course, the top speed of the Ginetta hurt a bit last season. I think overall the Ginetta is just, for me, it's the best GT4 car there is. But I have a habit of switching cars every season. I want to experience all the cars basically. So this time it's the Mercedes, and it was between the Audi and the Mercedes, and in the end I thought the looks of the Mercedes are a bit better. So no, I really like it. It has a bit of a tempo which I like, and it goes on the curves very well, which is nice on the British tracks.
Brilliant stuff. Well, congratulations on your result this evening, Dimitri.
Thanks.
Over to the final driver that's joined us here in the broadcasting booth, Bas van Mellis. Bas, an exciting race for you as well. Locked in battle in the number 11 Porsche. How was your race this evening? It looked like you had a good time.
I had a great time. I'm sweating like an otter, as we say in Dutch. And it's my first online podium. Obviously, in the AM category, I would rather take a podium in the pro category. But it was a great race. It was fun driving, clean driving, apart from a few love taps, as they say. But yeah, it was a great race, and massive respect for Sam for driving the Maserati so fast on Oulton. It's unbelievable what he does without the traction control and ABS.
A really strong result from yourself, P3 in the AM class to kickstart your season. Is that your target? What are your goals for this championship? Do you want to be fighting, for overall position, or are you looking at this AM category as your championship to fight for?
Well, I'm obviously gonna try and fight for the AM championship and see how far I get, and obviously try to score the points for the pro category as well. This is my first season in GT4. I've done 2 seasons GT3, and I thought I'd take up the challenge for doing both classes this year. So yeah, we'll see how far we get, and obviously I want to be more in the commentating mood, because then I can tag my mom, my number 1 fan, 40 years old, and your mom still watches you on YouTube.
Well, brilliant. Everyone's got to have at least one fan, Baz. So, at least it's a committed fan, let's say.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your result this evening, Baz. One final question. What's the inspiration behind the livery? Because it's certainly eye-catching. I likened it to maybe a Skittles livery, going for sponsorship from the sweets company. A very exciting design on your Porsche.
Yeah, definitely. I thought I go for something really standing out, and my daughter liked this a lot, so I chose the rainbow livery. And now people can't say I didn't see you.
Well, Steve Proudly, my co-commentator, said he didn't know that you couldn't decide which colour you wanted, Baz, so you just went with all.
I thought he'd just driven it through the paint shop, to be honest. And
yeah, well, that's how we try and roll, eh?
It's very striking, mate, very striking, and it certainly got you noticed. But what got you noticed more was the battling and the driving, as with a lot of drivers tonight. So well done, buddy.
Thanks a lot for that, Steve.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Dimitri Schenk and Bas van Mellis, drivers finishing P2, P3 in the AM class category. Look forward to seeing you next time out, boys.
Thanks a lot. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Steve, great to hear from the drivers. Great to hear their thoughts on what was a thrilling opening round of the season. And I'd like to say it's very much set the tone for the rest of the championship.
I hope so, mate. I mean, it never disappoints, does it? We've been with the SRH community for since the beginning of this year, really, streaming and commentating. We've had some races with them before that. We've had an association with them for a number of a couple of years now, and it's a great community. It's great racing. It's absolutely fantastic. And anybody that's in their Discord or in the SimSport Discord will know that the two great communities are coming together to form one super community as from January 2022, which will be SimSport Racing International. So you will get even more great racing with these guys. But back to the GT4 stuff. This race tonight, it was second to none. It was fantastic. The battles were really, really good. There was a lot of respect shown. There was a lot of talent on display. I mean, Sem in that Maserati. Let's not underestimate how hard that car is to drive. Aaron Martin Pilkington coming into a class with a brand new field of drivers that he's not raced with, and winning. He didn't just do well. He won. And lots of new faces. New names on the grid tonight that all put a good show on, that had some good results, varied results for a few drivers, but everybody was there, everybody raced well, and yeah, I'm hoping it has set the tone for the rest of the season, and I hope we get more races like that, not only in the GT4s but the GT3s, which will be live next Tuesday evening.
So let's wrap things up there this evening. Thank you very much to my co-commentator Steve Proudly. I've been Tim Fulbrook guiding you through the action. Thank you very much to everyone who's joined in on the YouTube and Twitch chats. It's been great to see plenty of people flooding in for this opening round of the season. This was Oulton Park, round 1, season 3 of Sim Racing Hub International's GT4 Championship. A new championship challenger emerges in this opening round. Debutant Aaron Martin Pilkington winning in spectacular fashion. Sem Spenkelink, our reigning champion, is going to want to respond in 2 weeks' time at Bathurst. Until then, until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. See you then. Good night.